They are the ones who actually control the levers, even now in Jammu and Kashmir.
I want to bring to your notice that the insurgency has increased.
Because you're looking at the terror numbers, incident numbers as parameter of success and failure, you will always continue to fail. For 700 years, Kashmiris have been at the hand of mercies of outsiders because they always want to remain distinct. They are stabbing their own people on the back. How do you trust to those people who are getting their own people killed for their own mission? They are on the suicidal path.
So you think the basic problem is of the religion differences?
Of course, the very system of control of the Maulvis and madrasas and the fringe element, the Talibanistic kind of education system which was introduced.
What is the relation of civil military in Kashmir? What is the actual number of forces in Kashmir, sir? Because there's a lot of speculation of different numbers.
Military doesn't have any interest in Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir. We have got interest in. So our numbers are slightly more higher on the LC because we need to ensure those jokers don't come inside. Terrorism nahi khatam hua. Terrorists khatam ho gaye. Remove ASPA. So in fact, if you recall that Srinagar army was stopped to operate, there were other places where army was stopped to operate and all and stuff like that, and suddenly, bang.
Today, we are honored to have with us Lieutenant General DP Pandey, a distinguished officer whose leadership and experience in the Indian Army have left an incredible mark on both the armed forces and the nation. In this episode, we explore themes of leadership, history, and service. General Pandey shares his perspective on what it takes to lead in the Indian Army, and we discuss the ideologies of Subhash Chandra Bose, Chandrasekhar Azad, and Bhagat Singh, who shaped India's freedom struggles. We also dive into the complex history of Kashmir, its evolving security situation, and the Army's role in supporting Kashmiri civilians. From Raja Hari Singh's pivotal decisions to the new governor approach, we uncover the layers of this region's history. Lastly, we touch on an important topic: creating equal opportunities for civilians who are well equipped and eligible to join defense forces. A vision for a more inclusive and empowered India. This conversation offers a blend of history, strategy, and a vision for the future. So sit back and join us for an insightful discussion with Lieutenant General DP Pandey. Without further ado, let's get started. Before we dive into today's conversation, I want to take a quick moment and ask for a favor. We noticed that 93% of you who watch our content regularly aren't subscribed yet. My promise to you is simple. If you hit that subscribe button, we'll keep working hard to bring thought-provoking conversations, incredible guests, and the topics you really care about the most. It is practically free for you, but it makes a huge difference for us, helping us grow, reach more people, and bring even better content your way. Thank you for supporting. It means the world to us. Now let's get back to the video. General DP Pandey, welcome to Diary for Publisher. What an honor to have you here today with me.
Thank you, Shivam. Thanks a lot. When you approached me for this podcast and I went through your brief understanding what your followership and everything, and I realized that you have hardly any. But yet, possibly I saw a couple of very good content which you have put out. And then I thought that it'd be worth the while to interact with you. So what? This podcast may be seen by few, but you bring a lot of value in terms of quality and content.
Thank you for your kind words. I look forward for this conversation. There's a lot of different topics I want to cover with you, but I would like to start our conversation on a personal note, sir. I would like to understand from you, you served the army for 4 decades, almost 40 years. What took you to the armed forces, sir? What was your inspiration and motivation to join the army?
I think from this platform, I can just share with you a basic facet. It's all about nurture. What your parents show you in very young age is what you possibly try and become in the eventual time. And I'm quite proud that my parents, my father, at my home, books were our very basic companion, very important companion, in which the books which were put across to us to read, where I'm talking of, now 70s, early 70s, and that point of time that books were related to basically patriotic fervor, nationalist ideas, I have read everything about Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh, people like icons of that point of time, Subhash Chandra Bose. In fact, each and every, as a child, I could imagine that how Chandrasekhar Azad said that I will never be caught alive with them. That very famous dialogue of his used to play in our sleeps, in my sleep. And, I used to wonder that if time came, will I be able to stand up like him and do my bit for my country, my nation. Similarly, the way Chandrasekhar Azad, Subhash Chandra Bose escaped, ran away. He had such a great life ahead of him, but he threw away everything for the country. People like Bhagat Singh, who just stepped up to altar to hang himself, get himself hanged without any fear or favor. These are my icons. So, when you read these books in the initial years, and then suddenly 1971 happens, and I was in Gorakhpur, a very small town in eastern UP, where there's an Air Force base close by. And we had instructions for blinds to be put across, So hum, us time pe we were just small kids. And we used to all go running around to shut the windows, switch off the lights. And I guess those small things which my parents allowed us to do added on to the facet of a nationalistic fervor. And then came the time when I started reading about Second World War and how the Britishers and the West and stories about Montgomery, about Eisenhower, and those books actually inspired me to work towards the military domain. And then 71, of course, what we did, we achieved. I read books on that. It was pretty young in my age. But all these made me very highly motivated to join army, to be a person to contribute to the nation. And I think because of the kind of reading I was doing, it was turning out to be military environment, and that is the way I guess. There's a very beautiful movie called Hindustan Ki Kasam. And this movie, when I saw at a very young age, in which this hero Rajkumar, there's an air raid on the base, and he sees one of his airmen dying, and he says that he'll come back and we'll sort you guys out. That Hindustan Ki Kasam, there's a song. I still sing that song, and my, hair on the nape goes up, and so is Tiranga. So every time we used to, and I've studied in central school and all, jahan pe wo Rashtragan, national anthem is a mandatory stuff used to happen. Every time we used to stand for national anthem. We are naughty children, but when it came up, the flag came up, you had the hair standing on a nape,
right,
which happens even today. Jab wo national anthem hota hai, to my hair still goes up because of that love for that flag. So I guess all these things conspired me to join army.
Right. So a lot of readings, a lot of conditioning from the parents and things around you made you join the army, basically. So
yeah.
So you also have a lot of connection with Kashmir. You've served in a few tenures in Kashmir. So would you like to speak about that?
Yeah, not few tenures. I have 7 tenures. And when Ladakh was part of Jammu and Kashmir state, per se today's UT, and if you add that tenure of Glacier and Eastern Ladakh, it becomes about 8 plus tenure in
that's
that
a lot.
region. Yeah. So a lot of people feel that I am quite a Jammu Kashmir expert, but I was very fortunate to have served all along the IB as well, from desert sector, semi-desert, in the canals. Then I've had experiences in the east, in northeast, on the Chinese border and stuff like that. So frankly, I've got a full range of operational depth, employment, deployment, and I've been, I'm an infantry soldier. So that infantry guys get thrown out all over the countryside, but you get to go back to Kashmir slightly more often because it's a place where operations are happening very often. And I got commissioned in 90. I was commissioned in 85, but my first tenure started in Valley was in 1990.
Okay.
And that is the time, if you recall, the issue of insurgency was coming about. And since that time, I kept on going. We never volunteer. In army, you don't have to volunteer. Your posting orders just come overnight and you're there. And it so happened that I have gone at a variety of layers. The good part about my Kashmir tenure has been that it started when the insurgency was at rise, and I exited as a corps commander eventually at the helm of Kashmir Valley when the insurgency was, we were seeing a decline. Insurgency. So I can just say that maybe the entire conflict there coincided with my service career of about 38 years of service career and about 4 years of NDA IMA. So I've gone 7 times and I possibly have got great operational experience from there.
Right.
Both on the line of control and of course in counterinsurgency and counter-terrorist operations.
So you spoke about how when you were posted for the first time in Kashmir, the insurgency was all-time high. And when you left, it went down as well. What changed in that tenure, sir, according to you? Also, I want to bring to your notice that the insurgency has increased in today's time as well. Recently, we see a lot of militant groups and attacks in Kashmir, the region of Kashmir and Jammu. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
So I will put it on 2 facets. This issue, I'll tackle the second question first. This is being talked very often, and like you mentioned that insurgency has increased. I will just say that terrorism has got 2 parts. One is terror and second is ism. So terror and terror infrastructure has come down, but the ism part takes time to go. And unfortunately, people in the political domain, diplomatic, bureaucratic, even unfortunately in military domain, they start seeing terror increase or decrease in a very narrow spectrum. Last year it was reduced and this year it is too high. Last year there were only 10 attacks, this year there are 15 attacks. So there's a jump. We need to see it from the entire canvas of about 3.5 decades. When you see in the 3.5 decades, there's hardly is pittance, is nothing, right? Because the numbers remain one of the all-time lowest still. There was a time there were thousands of terrorists being killed. And that implied about 5 to 10 times terrorists present in the Kashmir Valley or Jammu and Kashmir. So what are these numbers? These are not even 1% or 2% of incidents which are happening vis-a-vis compared to that time. But yes, if you compare of the last year or last to last year, then of course they look very significant because of this perception and desire to achieve very early success. We always fail in long term because you're looking at the terror numbers, incident numbers as parameter of success and failure. You will always continue to fail. I have always talked about, even as a corps commander, even as a GOC of Kilo Force, in all forums, that till the time you don't dismantle the network of ism, that means the mind space which has been corrupted over a period of nearly 7 decades, 7.5 decades.
Yeah.
And I'll not say 7.5 decades, about 10 decades, because somewhere in 1930s, that idea of unique culture, unique ethnicity, unique language, a population which is totally different based on religion and stuff like that started coming out in the mind of people of Kashmir per se, not entire Jammu and Kashmir.
So you think the basic problem is of the religion differences?
Of course. No, not only religion. What happens is this barrier of a certain degree of physical barrier which used to be there before independence and even after independence for some time, because Pir Panjal, that famous Johar tunnel which came about later on, is a major physical barrier. The route used to come through a different route from Uri, from that side, from Muzaffarabad. The entry was, main entry and exit was from that side. So naturally the symbiotic relationship seemed from that side. But then that was a part of larger India. It was a larger Indian subcontinent that connectivity was there. What unfortunately the people, leadership of Kashmir have continued to feed in the mind of the Kashmiris that as they are unique and distinct, they need to have a unique and distinct destiny. But they don't want to show to them that south of Pir Panjal, the Punchis are unique and distinct. The people from Kishtwar are equally unique and distinct. They don't even speak common languages in Kishtwar. They don't speak different language. They speak totally different language in Doda. When you come to Jammu, your culture, ethnicity, type of clothing is totally distinct. And now when you start coming to Punjab, to UP, to Haryana, to Tamil Nadu, to Kerala, there are large number of small, unique, distinct identity which are there, which are all coexisting in our country, which need to coexist because otherwise these fractures are very reason why Kashmir has seen turbulent time for nearly 7 centuries. For 700 years, Kashmiris had been at the hand of mercies of outsiders because they always wanted to remain distinct. This idea of ism, that mind space change, which has been nested for last about 10 decades, it will take a lot of time to go. Unfortunately, there is no effort, institutional effort to make the change.
What needs to be done to change that?
So the basic change is that you have to start looking at education.
Education.
The very system of control of the Maulvis and madrasas and the fringe element in Pakistan, which has allowed Pakistan to go the way it has gone. Pakistan also was a progressive society till 60, 65 or maybe till early 70s. When they allowed the control for to the Talibanistic kind of education system which was introduced so that they can feed against the Soviet Russia.
Okay.
Numbers which are required to be trained and fight at the behest of the American US-led alliance against the Soviet Russia. They started teaching those people. People came from Afghanistan, their own guys, those schools, missionary schools which opened up. Those numbers have taken their own life. It's got a own cycle now. And they are unable to control. Unfortunately, there is no check and balance on what is being taught by Jamaat-e-Islami-led schools, control schools. There is hardly any check what is being taught in the madrasas. So while they teach very benign perception-wise, that हम तो सिर्फ religion के बारे में लाते, but that religion also adds one line in the last. In all these madrasas, you may be studying in the top convent school of Kashmir, but in the evening your child has to go to madrasa for a teaching couple of times in a week, and they are very smart, these Maulvis, they will teach everything about peace, but in the last they will say there's only one religion called Islam. There's only one way of path. So while it may be true for a religioustic fervor and control, but nobody tells them there is something else called Christianity. There's else called, even in Islam, there are sects like Shia, there are other sects like or Buddhism or Jainism or Sikhism or Hinduism. They're not taught. They're just told कि बेटा यही है तरीका. और अगर तुमने ये तरतीब से इस तरह से काम नहीं किया, and if you don't give your life in the line of religion, then you will not get the heaven which you seek. Right? So they don't teach. So what happens is that in that small child, they should have a choice at some point of time. But not one child today in Kashmir gets that option to make a choice to be a multicultural person. They have been totally fed a system of talk, which, and mind you, most of the Kashmiri Maulvis are not the ones who are teaching. Who are taking those, giving the lessons? People from Western UP, people from Bihar, people from Tamil Nadu, especially those hardline people who want to talk of Islam as only way possible are the ones who are actually teaching this stuff in Valley. And it's this thing. And unfortunately, in a country like ours, where if you talk the way I'm talking, you'll be actually put into a spot because you're non-secular and you are hardline rightist or Hinduist or whatever. I think there are a lot of taglines. The people of Kashmir know where they are into trouble. Most of them understand. But unfortunately, they can't speak. They don't have a voice. And they have no choice about not sending their children. Because there's a very, very strong grip of an element called Jamaat-e-Islami, which I don't think any government can as of now break. They have put a ban and all sorts, but it's a very informal arrangement which you can't say ki who's Jamaat-e-Islami. Because they've got a very system of rotating elements who lead every year and change every year and all. It's a difficult challenge.
Education is an important aspect in any country and in any state as well. So Kashmir, we'll get back to the education part, but since you spoke about terrorism, sir, I want to ask you a question based on the current crisis in West Asia. Like you said, Jamaat-e-Islami is like a proxy for Pakistan in India. Is there anything we can learn from the proxies that are happening in West Asia against Israel?
Yeah, firstly, Jamaat-e-Islami is not a proxy for Pakistan. It may use religion as one of the natures, right? Okay. It is a tool for them. In case of Pakistan, the proxies of Pakistan are different. Jamaat-e-Islami has got technically nothing much to do with them, but to say that part of them is not working for them is not correct.
Okay.
Right? So there will be, it's something like, there's some sort of representation of deep state in our own country. So he is a great nationalist, which looks like nationalist, but he's working on money and payment for somebody. All will not. So in Jamaat-e-Islami, everybody is not working for Pakistan or against. They are technically trying to tell, you see, Jamaat-e-Islami, Jammu and Kashmir is not part of Jamaat-e-Islami India. They decided the path differently. At some point of time. It is a political decision they took, right? Because we are not part of you. So anything else happen to the Muslims anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, the Kashmiri or Jammu Kashmiri Muslims are not interested, right? But if something happens in Palestine, they are very concerned.
Yeah.
So look at the difference. There's a nuanced difference. Because the moment they start connecting with the Indian Muslims, when they're in so-called trouble anywhere it happens, then what will be perceived that they are part of the Indian subcontinent.
Okay.
They're very nuanced. They're very, very smart people. Very smart, very dangerous people, right? So like they will always come out, nahi, hum to election ladna chahte hain. So they fought elections. But most of them have lost even deposits. So while they control the society fears them. But society doesn't trust them. That is a thing which Indian government has not been able to actually exploit it or use it to their advantage. So that is one part. Now second is, what is the lesson? The lesson has to be learned by the people of Kashmir, not by the government of India, because government of India cannot do. The moment you do something of this nature against this thing, you are tarnished into anti-minority and that kind of a thing. People have to learn that the path which so many other proxies of different types have taken, the path to the respective people. Palestinians don't have stay, but they are controlled by the proxies.
True.
So and Kashmiris are very smart people, intelligent people, right? They are not like, I don't want to say they are not like Palestinians or something, but they also know kitna dur jana hai, kitna kaam karna hai. ठीक है? But they are fearful of societal backlash amongst each other, that they don't speak much about Jamaat-e-Islami. We have to be very careful that they don't take control, but they are the ones who actually control the levers, even now in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right.
If I have answered the question.
Yes, you have. I've understood that it's the people of Kashmir who should understand the problem of these proxies, not the government of India. Rightly said. So, could you briefly tell me a little about your thoughts on the recent elections in Jammu and Kashmir, sir? What are your thoughts on that?
So the biggest problem of any election is not only here, it is also in US, that people promise moon and come to power, right? And then those moon, they know they can't deliver. Becomes that in Kashmir, it becomes much more pronounced. Because in the rest of the country, what happens is that you may come to a state in election and make a list of 100 promises and people understand, right? But in Jammu and Kashmir, and particularly Kashmir is the one, unfortunately, is driving the agenda of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay? So it is not Jammu and Kashmir which drives the agenda of Jammu and Kashmir. People of Jammu are left aside.
Is it?
Yeah, because eventually they are the ones who are divided mostly. The Kashmiris are joint in a sense that they know that they must vote against any central government which is there, right? And if it happens to be BJP, they may give us anything. And if BJP anytime thinks that they can make inroads, they can make some inroads. There'll be some sensible people or some people who will vote for them, independent people who may take a call, but largely they will never be voted because there have been parties that try to influence us, say that they are Hindu-led parties. They're not so-called across the region divide parties. And so the case, like if you see in Punjab or all these small states where religion is a major issue, you'll find that BJP for them to come out is so much difficult. So the challenge now, what has happened, that the government had to get the elections done, right? Rightly so, because people must have a say on their destiny, good or bad, right? So I feel that a lot of time people have questioned the government's decision. I think there will never be a perfect condition for elections to happen. Any time is a good time. And I think 5 years was enough for trying to get peace. People have been given a taste of peace. Now it is up to them to go on the path of protest and violence. For the last 5 years, they have not seen Bandh, they have not seen protest. They have seen children going to the schools. They have seen businesses flourishing. They have seen money coming in, trade coming in, G20 happening, the youth going and enjoying cricket matches. Imagine the present chief minister was enjoying the cricket match, or going for drive, and so many people are going for skiing, and all those symbolic thing is quite evident that the peace and stability was quite very well assured process. So people have got the taste of that, but that was under control of indirect control of the lieutenant governor who was there. He was a man who was actually a great visionary, and I think, thank God, the first two governors went out in short time, and the government decided to get this gentleman on board. He's not only visionary, he's also a person who can strategize and implement. An executive combination of political and executive person who was able to make the change and take army, administration, police, security forces, CRPF, and everybody on the board to the progress of the Jammu and Kashmir state. So they were very lucky to get him. What is now going to happen is that, having got the political parties, the elements which are fringe elements were aspirational from this party itself. So opposition will get after them, right? So like today's resolution, Wahid Para has introduced, speaker was being sworn in or something today, and I was driving in here, I read that message,
right,
that he's introduced a resolution of restoration of 370 as a major resolution. So this is all brinkmanship, right? This is also trying to reach out to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, trying to say that we are fighting for your cause, right? And it is not fighting for the rational cause. The elements which are there in national conference, who are also not getting enough. After all, everybody can't come into cabinet. Everybody cannot have the power. Everybody cannot have the ministerial. So everybody who will be unhappy, who's not getting enough, will go down to the public and say, देखो ये 370 promise किया था, आप वापस लेके आएंगे, वो लेके नहीं आ रहे. So everybody is going to push the boundary of the government. So it is going to be a challenge. This was not the case till the time the state assembly was there, right? So the government, in terms of bureaucratic government, and the state machinery, UT machinery, was able to deliver to the people what is required. Now this hiccup will start. So it's a challenge for them. If the present government is smart, they'll be able to manage this issue and ensure that this very, very hard-earned peace and stability, which has come for the last 5 years, does not shift down.
Right.
Right.
Sir, military has a major stake in the region of Kashmir as well, sir. This question is divided in two parts. So one is, what is the relation of civil military in Kashmir? And second question is that, what is the actual number of forces in Kashmir, sir? Because there's a lot of speculation of different numbers.
So there are numbers we have talked of, 10 lakh, 7 lakh, from across the border. Our Indian military strength itself is just about 1.3 million or something, It's not 10 lakh, it is 13 lakh.
14 lakhs or something.
13, 14 lakh. वो Air Force, Navy, Army सब मिला
के.
So how can you have 7 to 10 lakh in Kashmir, right? Suffice, I don't want to come into the exact numbers, but suffice to say that military doesn't have any interest in Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir, right? We have got interest in the line of control.
Yeah.
Right. The line of control starts from NJ9842 in the north, right, from the Siachen Glacier, down till, including IB, till the Kutch border and Sir Creek area. So somewhere it's called LC, somewhere it's called IB, somewhere it's called, there are various names and stuff like that. My concern as a corps commander, or concern of a corps commander in Kashmir, is not about what is happening in the hinterland. We are conventional forces deployed for conventional purpose. Let's say if there's no trouble in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir today, do we require the forces in the hinterland? We don't require, but we'll still require the headquarters and logistics which support the operations on line of control.
True.
In the similar manner that it is there in Punjab, in similar manner is in Haryana, or in Rajasthan, or in Gujarat, we got BSF headquarters, we've got army headquarters, our logistics and communication systems, our road infrastructure, correct? So that will not go, that will always remain. The only addition which has happened is, because this has become a disturbed area, Before 90, we did not require forces to operate
from there. Yeah.
So there's a difference between local units to be housed to rest and recoup in the rear areas, right? But now as our lines of communication, where we have to send our daily, you got certain amount of forces which need to be supported. So there are people coming back from leave, going on leave. There are training exercises. There are turnovers which happen. There are forces which have to go to 14 Corps in opposite China and opposite POK. Those people have to transit. Who ensures the security? Right?
Indian Army.
The Jammu and Kashmir police is supposed to be a law and order machinery. But when there's a threat on these lines of communication, and if a grenade is thrown on an Indian Army vehicle, there's a loss of prestige of Indian Army.
True.
It's also a matter of if you lose one man, there is a whole lot of experience which goes out.
Right.
We need to secure that, right? But if this number becomes much more, you required for people to operate. There was a time when you required those numbers. And that is why these 2-3 forces were raised. Like in Kashmir, we got Kilo Force, we got Victor Force. And each of them have got 3 to 4 formations under them.
Okay.
There are just about 8,000, 10,000 people of these formations which operate in this area, primarily for lines of communication. And as the terrorists reside in jungles and in high reaches in the mountains, they carry out counter-terrorist operations in the jungle areas, in the mountains. And jungles and mountains require large number of troops. So this is the number which is involved in operations, CICT operations. Rest, everybody who is deployed for line of control here. वो तो आपको secure करना, you can't lose an inch of ground. That's a mandate given by the government of India, by people of our country. So this manipulation of figures, when they speak out, who's talking of the numbers? The people of the Pakistan Army. Now you have to ask the Pakistani Army that how many people are deployed on the LC of theirs. You will find nearly similar number, right? It may not be matching because, we are not sending terrorists across. They are the ones who are sending terrorists inside. So our numbers are slightly more higher on the LC because we need to ensure those jokers don't come inside. And if they're trying to come in, they should be given a ticket to wherever they have to go, up to the old Lord, where they actually want to go, to the hell or heaven, where they have to go, right? So this is how we need to look at it, right? If there are a large number of protests, like for example, when 370 was abrogated, there was a certain number of forces which are doing Amarnath Yatra, they stayed for a period of time. Within 3 to 4 months, they dissipated. So today, the forces, when I was a GOC 15, when I took over a GOC 15 Corps, उसके आधे हो गए थे. और आज की तारीख में तो बहुत ही कम है. CRPF is not there in those numbers. BSF is not there in those numbers. They are doing. So in case you are having all these elections, where are the forces coming from? They are coming from all over the places. That includes Jammu and Kashmir. But कल को जब election होगा तो वहाँ पे भी आएंगे जैसे हर जगह आते हैं. So these are all
you got to deploy accordingly, right?
Accordingly, and they are all dynamic. They change.
True. It has to change. Second question was, how is the relation between the civil, military, and the police as well? So
yeah. So the good part of Jammu and Kashmir is that the relationship with army in the hinterland is always good with civil administration and police when there are tensions in this thing, because that is the time they understand that they need us, and we work with anybody, right? And we get love and respect from the people. But unfortunately or fortunately or whatever it may sound very undiplomatic, but the fact remains that the people in service, they don't love us much for whatever reason, because we possibly come out very, very disciplined force anywhere. So as long as I'm sure the conflict will last in Jammu and Kashmir, there'll be a great synergy which will be always there. They will look after us, and there'll be great back and forth. But I am quite sure, and my experience says that much, that as the situation will start becoming okay, that relationship starts diminishing, right?
Nice.
I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I did, sir. To match that answer, sir, you and your tenure in the GOC in the 15 Corps, sir, you introduced a lot of sports and different events in order to create a good relationship with the community. Do you want to speak a little about that, sir?
Yeah, you see, I was not the one who actually introduced. There's a beautiful concept called Sadbhavana, which was started by General Nirbhay Sharma.
Okay.
He was a 15 Corps commander. I was very fortunate to follow his line because he was GOC Kilo Force. He raised GOC Kilo Force and Kilo Force in North Kashmir, and thereafter after some time he became GOC 15 Corps. He's the one who started this broad concept of reaching out. That time, governance in Jammu and Kashmir had broken down, right? Because of the large number of terrorists operating in the entire area, and people in remote areas, they hit the terrorist, not the terrorist, actually the people who were controlling the terrorist, especially the Jamaat-e-Islami, they hit the education infrastructure first and the road network. So they burnt anything which was related to education. What ensured was all the children who were studying in these schools, they were compelled to come to the schools which were being run by Jamaat-e-Islami, which actually educated them for the future generation of stone pelters, future generation of people who have to pick up the guns, future generation who can be controlled on the lines of religion. So rather than giving a modern education, they were controlled. So that is one part. The second part, as the governance fails, the respect for the government from the people of the affected area, it may be anywhere, it may be in Mao, it may be in LWE, it may be any part of the country. So I think he came up with the concept that we need to reach out and ameliorate the condition of the people, particularly in the remote area where the reach of the government is reduced because the roads and tracks are dominated, controlled by the terrorist actions and all.
Okay.
So while I may take a party to a village, an SDM or a DM to carry out operation, but he can't function properly to ensure that the lights are given, irrigation, वो तार काट देंगे, ठीक है? So number of micro-hydel projects were taken. There were generators were given. There is solar-driven power plants were given. So I'm talking of very initial stages.
Okay.
So as situation started turning in the favor of the government and the governance started reaching out, then the Indian Army decided that Sadbhavana needs to evolve. And that is the time General Atta Hasnain came and he launched it in a big way. And that is when this whole two things started. This engagement of sports started. And the second thing which started was a thing called going out of the Kashmir Valley, because yesterday there was a video of a child, day before yesterday, which was roaming around, in which he comes out and he's an Instagram influencer.
Okay.
I think he must be about 14, 15 years old. And it was hot on Twitter. Everybody was castigating and asking for my opinion about this boy. So he comes out and says कि मैं मैं भी enjoy करना चाहता हूँ, मैं बाहर आया और मैंने ये बुत मतलब वो मंदिरों में पूजा देखी. Imagine ये कश्मीर के अंदर, it's something like that. It's a very negative. I have not seen the video proper.
Okay.
But this is essential import of his communication was. And then after 24 hours, he said, sorry if I have hurt, because people must have told him to talk. What happens is that if you don't see other side of communities, that there is a other system, you only see one way of living and thinking, and your mind is being shaped by your parents, your environment, your teachers who are teaching in your respective colonies and immediate influencing environment. You can't think of anything else. So then we thought, or the army thought that point of time, to send people on these tours, right, outside the country, outside Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir. And in that tour, they should go out to Delhi, they should go out to Bombay, they should meet the president, they should see malls, they should see temples, they should see Jama Masjid, they should see how people of all faith live and how Kashmir is being left behind because of this very nature of the conflict, and it's not progressing as line as the rest of the country is progressing.
Right.
So these couple of things started that point of time, and I have confessed this point in variety of podcasts that I was a colonel that point of time and I was totally against this idea, because I said this is not our job. My views changed. I went to one of the schools of AGSs in Huzur, where I saw young kids dance with Tiranga, with dance on Holi, with Bhangra. And I said, look, there are other schools which are only on one line. But this is one school where a different multicultural facets being taught. And these children were dancing with abandon, they were enjoying themselves. And the parents were very proud of it. So each child which was being educated was influencing a environment and ecosystem at their home, parents, children, everybody. So
Right.
you look at the outreach with these. So we were running, I think, eventually we came down to about 36, 37 odd schools being run in only in Valley. So if you multiply the butterfly effect, or when you saw the butterfly, that effect of larger number, you influence a large number of people. Every Maulvi who went out for an all India tour have gone and seen. He may still not be convinced, but he's also now not totally convinced that what he's doing is right.
Right.
Right? There are people of multi-faith which they all live together and they progress together. When General Hassan had taken over, that time the militancy had come down to a little bit. But somewhere we again got totally focused on Sadbhavana, and we forgot that the online radicalization was happening, and maybe we lost the plot at some point of time, and especially because of the state government was there. It's the state government responsibility. They were pushing for ASPA hata do, band kar do. You know, there was a whole talk that अब तो terrorist खत्म हो गए हैं, terrorism नहीं खत्म हुआ, terrorist खत्म हो गए, remove ASPA. So in fact, if you recall that Srinagar army was stopped to operate, there were other places where army was stopped to operate and all and stuff like that, and suddenly bang,
Just
you know,
coming
Badgam,
back.
they came back, and then they realized ki, oh shit, terrorism is live. So till the time the factory chal rahi hai na, machine is on, the terrorists will come and go, right?
sir.
The numbers can always increase and decrease, but the fact is that terrorism factory is still live. Aim was basically to continue to educate, and therefore we shifted the gear to a different level. What I did was that I took these things to areas of South Kashmir. So we had one of the first major athletic championship of South Kashmir in Shopian, which is the heart of terrorism.
So what I've understood from your answer here is that a good leader is essential in a place like Kashmir as well. In diplomacy, in army, in military, whatever, a good leader is important. If you were to give an advice to the leadership of Kashmir at the moment, sir, what would you tell them?
If you have to look at the history, don't look at the history of 5 years back. Restoration of 370 is important, you know, for them. Because then there will be somebody who will go to 1953. That restoration of those privileges are required. Then somebody will go back to pre-1947, that Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state and it should not transition to the same borders. And then somebody will go back to some other time in history, to 13th century and beyond, when it was a different type of a state. So we should look at the future, which is a modern future. Entire world is going towards a globalized world. You need to learn from what is happening across in Pakistan, what is happening across a little bit further west. Kashmiri people are by DNA, by gene, very, very modern people, right? They are cosmopolitan. Look at what was Kashmir in 1970s, 60s. Try and restore that environment, not the structures of the environment. When I say structures, that 1953 status, that वो सदर रियासत होता था, you know, आपका अपना constitution है, आपका अपना, you know, because the times have changed. Smell the coffee, what is happening? Look at the future. And in case you see, you have to only just wonder that at that point of time, Raja Hari Singh would have taken a decision to sign the pact with the Pakistanis. He had two choices basically, this or that, right? But he decided to stall for whatever purpose it was. And when the Pakistanis broke the promises, as they have always done to everybody, they have done it to the Chinese, they have done it to the Americans, people don't learn. They have done to Indians. We still want to go back and, you know, embrace that. A lot of people say, उनको जफ्फी पालो सब ठीक हो जाएगा, जफ्फी नहीं पाएंगे वो. They are stabbing their own people on the back. How do you trust to those people who are getting their own people killed for their own mission? They are on the suicidal path. They need to smell the coffee that if they had taken a call, which 30 years back they wanted to, you know, Jilani and everybody wanted to take Kashmir into Pakistan. If they were there, what will be happening to the women? What will be happening to the children? What will be happening to them? कश्मीर भारत का ताज है, आज से नहीं था, ठीक है. 1300 साल 2000 साल पहले ललितादित्य के टाइम पे था. इट वाज अ वेरी वेरी प्रॉस्परस स्टेट which ruled nearly half of India, of the current, not the current, but the larger Bharat. They should progress towards that side.
What about the leadership styles? So we were having a conversation about leadership styles, and you had a great suggestions. Would you like to incorporate that in this as well?
Yeah, so, you know, I was talking of leadership about the military leadership. You asked me a question that, what is your style of leadership? Is it similar to what has been taught in the books earlier and stuff like that? I want to tell you that I have followed and this is what I taught in Army War College as well as a commandant, a word called immersive leadership. And I just want to break this immersive leadership style into 3 broad parts. That is centralized accountability. You screw up, I'm responsible, accountable. Shared responsibility. I'm responsible, you are responsible, everybody is responsible for his own act. Right? It's different than accountability. And decentralized execution. Because once my mission is set and able to explain you my mission, then you should take on the responsibility to execute that mission with a common mission and objective, right? That end goal should be always specific. So there is to be a leadership style in times of Second World War, even till 71, when you had iconic leaders who were revered as बड़ी बड़ी फोटोग्राफ लगती हैं उनकी और लोग उसको देख करके कहते हैं यार लीडर ऐसे होना चाहिए. So what was the leadership? It was smart, at times British looking, not more Indian looking, but more of British looking person with smart uniform, a cane in hand and a hat and stuff like that. And then the stock of the soldiers, even the officers' stock, is to come from very poor background, village background. And they were awed by them. So, the General Saab or the CO Saab or the commanding officer who's leading or the company commander used to have Sainik Sammelan once in a while. And they used to come and they used to hear out the problems of, it was something like, Awam versus, right? They were highly respected leaders because they could still get the sense of what is happening in the people and they could inspire the confidence. That time we didn't have to go into battle every day. No societal challenges. The gap between the educated leadership and the uneducated soldiers was immense in terms of money, status and education, right? Intellect. Today, a soldier is also very highly qualified, his wife. And so is the case of general mass population. He may not be intellectual, he may not be intelligent, but surely they are qualified. So, you may be a BA, BSc, MSc, you may be a soldier, you may be working as a peon. You understand that I am as intelligent as the man who's sitting in the office. मेरी किस्मत नहीं थी, नहीं तो मैं भी वहाँ होता, right? So when such a situation comes, you have to now step in and be with these people to firstly understand that how much they know and exploit. So if I am sitting in this office and my peon is I'm talking a civilian staff, he's a MA or BSc qualified guy. I must not only use him for peon's job, I must harness his other energies to good, which allows him to become responsible, a shared responsible, and he may deliver your goods far more better because now he's able to understand your mission and be able to develop. So this is a thing which I have practiced.
That's what empowers people as well.
Empowers. So what happens is that for me, I have never thought that I know everything. So if Shivam Arya is running a publishing house and I want to know, I will generally be aware of how you run. I should not learn the full trade and tricks from you, but I must be able to know what can you deliver and I must use you for delivering for the overall mission.
True.
That generally never used to happen. So this is a time even the political leadership of corporate, military, everybody has to be immersive.
Do you see that change now in the military, sir? In the army?
Yeah, it will take long way to go because, what happens is that we are born, brought up. So we still see the images of that top leadership. I don't want to name because this will straight away how he's totally in different league. There are enough leaders in our organization who follow the system. Nobody, and Indians have a crab mentality, no? So if there's a good leader in our organization also,
pull them down.
Firstly, nobody will like to talk about him because that straight away, again, the same point, we are all qualified, right? Our subordinates, superiors, this thing, everybody is qualified. He's just so what? He's got an opportunity to lead, therefore he's leading.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know that chap is also putting an immense amount of hard work, to put. So I have actually evolved this style of leadership by learning over a period of time from a number of people. And I don't have, you asked me a question that who is your icon for leadership? Frankly, I don't have any icons. My icons are a person who was, when I was a very young officer, he was my CO by name of Colonel Bhimwal. His system was very clear. I have given this just as your baby. You deliver it and then come back to me, right? You want resources, assets, take, organize, structure, come back, you report to me. Something wrong goes, I'll hold the hand. But you deliver. So, one learned from him. I had great CEOs like Colonel Khetarpal, whose answer was, why are you coming to me for clarification? Why? You have been trained, groomed in this organization to deliver. I don't want you to looking back. You don't do your job well, I'll guide you. I'll advise you. I may still caution you, but don't look back and ask. So, freedom of action, responsibility was given. I was made to be accountable for my actions. You learn from your own peers, your immediate environment, from the soldiers, how they want you to explore and expect, right? And I come from Siklai. In Siklai, if you try to be elitist, you'll be left aside. In Siklai, our boys really love if you are amongst them. You have to go for the morning PT, for games. You may be intellectually brilliant. You may be बहुत पढ़ा लिखा साहब. But if you can't dirty your hand with them, and if you can't play basketball in which they will not spare you. So even now when I go, just before retiring, I went to my regimental center. So when I have to go and play my basketball with them, they are not looking that I am 25 years old and this chap is a 60-year-old man to spare you. They will push you and they want to test कि हुण साहब बुढ़ा हो गया कि साढ़े नाल फिट हैगा कि नहीं. So your environment teaches you to be what, and this is what I applied in Kashmir as well.
Beautiful.
And last advice to you is that to the leaders is that never ever think that what orders you have passed is the right order and has reached the ground. You have to reach out to that ground and find that feedback, not by questioning, but by actually when you reach out and visit more often than you're from my office, you'll get that vibe that your message has reached or not. And this beautiful art I learned from one of my corps commander when I was a GOC, General Bhatt. He had a great system of taking a feedback. And I observed him how people without knowing used to tell that his orders have percolated to him. So I saw that and I tried to incorporate. So, he may not be known into the books may not have been written about him. But for me, these are people who are iconic leaders from I have learned a lot.
Nice, sir. This has been a beautiful conversation with you, sir. We majorly covered Kashmir. I had a lot of other questions because you are a man of so much knowledge and wisdom. Maybe for another day, but today, because we are short on time, we must call this conversation short. I've got two personal questions before you go, sir, that I ask my guest. Make sure to ask my guest. One is, sir, if there was one problem General DP Pandey could solve in this world, what would that be, sir?
Oh, that's a very big question you've asked. The day you start looking at a mission which is higher than you, and that mission should not be God, right? The mission should be the earth. This world issues will get resolved. It may look very vague to you, but for me it's very simple. You know what? I see in the morning when I go to my gym, in the morning those safai, those people who clean the streets, safai walas, they come out of the street and they clean. Every day those people are on the street. But within half an hour, I see parents with children going to school, throwing out bottles from the car. In the evening, the same street, that's future of our country, the youth comes out on the street and has chaat, ice cream, sandwiches, and they drop the trapper on the ground. And they all go back to their rooms and they say, how dirty is our country? The day they stop saying that how dirty is our country, they start looking at one mission up, that I am going to wrap. Like we travel, I love to travel in my car. My wife carries a bag all the time. So, it's nothing very great. We pick up, we put the trash, we go home. And so this habit has been imbibed in our entire family. You don't drop. The day you start looking one level up from other people's comfort, what everybody else is doing, start respecting their job. So when you find that the Safai Karamchari is working in the morning, I should not create that muck onto the street. When we all start, I'm just giving one example. And so is the relationship while driving on the road, So all this thing will work out, I think will be a better place to stay. In our country, I'll not like to talk of others. The day we start teaching our boys at home that you are my future, आप कहते हैं हमारे बच्चे को आप आगे लेके जाओगे. We start telling our girls also same, that you are our future, right? And we start teaching our children, our boys, how to conduct. The way you are conducting yourself with your sister, your mother, you need to respect others. I think we'll be much better place. What people don't like about our country, and it's not about our country only, it's about the majority of the countries in the vicinity and around, especially our subcontinent, that while we respect our sister and our mother very much, but we don't respect our wives, don't respect your wife, your mother, your daughter well enough. I think these are small little things, and we have lost out. Like when we were youngsters, we used to have a very, very major class called moral science class, and we were taught about it, right? All these things were taught, discussed, which doesn't happen in today's privatized schools, where you want to have swimming pools, you want to have great games, but you don't teach your children how to conduct with other people. I think that's, I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but
you have so lovely. That was a lovely answer as well, because it starts from the basic level as well, from your basic conditioning from an early age, and respecting small things is when you start respecting big things as well.
So you may be expecting a military answer or a strategic answer. I think these small little building blocks make a country and the world safer.
Definitely, sir. The last question today for you is, because this podcast is called Diary for Publisher, we encourage a lot of people to read as well. And you read yourself a lot, sir. If there was one book that you wish you would have read earlier in life that changed your perspective in life, what would that be, sir?
Oh, okay. Well, there are a number of books, but there's a very beautiful book which I will like the youth of India today to read is Revenge of Geography. Read that. Okay. I think it will explain to you why people behave the way they behave today. And if you don't understand geography, you can't understand civilizations. You can't understand why people behave in civilization the way they behave. And therefore, you may not be able to handle the future the way it comes out. So if you're to shape the future rightly, you must read this book called Revenge of Geography.
Revenge of Geography. I remember this book because I had a conversation with General Shokeen once, and that's the book he mentioned as well. So,
I respect him a lot. He's an icon of leadership himself. So if I've been able to surprise you with the same answer, okay, I may be on his path.
Lovely, sir. What an inspiring conversation this has been, sir. I've learned a lot from you during this conversation. I'm sure the audience took a lot as well. I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
I did. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We at DOAP are working really hard to take this podcast to the next level. Our guests are going to get even better. Our production quality is going to get even better, and hopefully, I'm going to get even better too. Most importantly, we are committed to being consistent and continue to do what we love the most. Until then, keep reimagining yourself and know that the power of change lies within you. Jai Hind.